Boy, am I happy I did not buy this game.
Can I just say, your fantasies can't be quenched, can they? You freaking freaks!
You're just full of memes, aren't you?
Yeah. Now go ahead and explain what I'm talking about.
Okay, so Assassin's Creed Odyssey, of course, has been releasing DLC lately, and I believe it's the story that it tells is titled Legacy of the First Blade. So if you haven't played it and you're planning on playing it, or if you don't care about spoilers, then, you know.
Or if you haven't left already because of my quoting Sammy Classic Sonic fan, which is understandable if you have. So.
Yeah, you just killed all our viewership there anyway. So it doesn't matter what we say at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are concerned about spoilers for that DLC, don't watch. Otherwise, feel free to watch and most likely get offended. But the creative director, who is Jonathan Dumont, has come out and apologized for the conclusion of the second chapter of Legacy of the First Blade, known as Shadow Heritage. Here's what happens in the game. So in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you play as a male or a female. You play as Alexios, the male, or Cassandra, the female. And the game, it's very obvious that you can choose to pursue heterosexual relationships or homosexual relationships or one-night stands or whatever. You can make those choices should you choose to. Mm-hmm. So you could do one or the other. You could do both. You could do whatever. Yay, progress.
Sold. I'm buying that game.
So all that to say is the conclusion of Shadow Heritage, the second chapter in this DLC, ends with Cassandra or Alexios having a child with the direct child, whether it's going to be man or woman, depending on to match up with Cassandra or Alexios. If it's Cassandra, it's a guy. Alexios, it's a woman. You have a child basically with Darius, who's like a proto-assassin, who's like the first person in history to use a hidden blade, I think, is how that ties into it.
How does a dude character have a child with a dude?
No. Darius is an old man who has a child. The child will be the opposite gender of the person you play as.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so if you play as Cassandra, Darius has a son. If you play as Alexios, Darius has a daughter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Got it? Okay. So this ends with you having a child with this person, with this child of Darius, okay? So there's a sexual encounter, and it results in a child, and apparently a lot of players were upset with this, as it kind of goes against the whole, well, I would like to choose, whoever I fall in love with. So he went ahead, Jonathan Dumont went on to the game's forums to apologize for this choice.
Because spinelessness.
Because this is the whole. This is why when I'm kind of going to use the same logic here that I use with the Star Wars prequels. If you're a fan of something, it's not yours.
Yeah.
You don't get to determine what happens with something if you're just a fan. If you want to be creative, create your own thing. Okay?
It's not like a choose your own adventure book or whatever. Choose your own.
Right. And I'm sorry, but this always happens. This is kind of my complaint about Mass Effect. Like, you get to choose things, and by the way, they had the same thing. You could, choose whoever you ended up with romantically, and people love that, and that's another reason why I never got into that. But anyway, let's get into Jonathan Dumont's post here. Some of the excerpts are, he says things like, "It is clear that we missed the mark. Alexios/Cassandra, realizing their own mortality and the sacrifice Leonidas and Myrene, I believe it is, their grandfather and mother, made before them to keep their legacy alive, felt the desire and duty to pursue their important lineage. Our goal was to let players choose between a utilitarian view of ensuring your bloodline lived on or forming a romantic relationship. The clarity and motivation for this decision was poorly executed. As you continue the adventure in the next episode, Bloodline, please know that you will not have to engage in a lasting romantic relationship if you do not desire to. So basically, you can drop it at that point, but there is something that happens which results in a child.
Yeah.
So, oh boy. Now we get into some of the responses on Reddit, because Reddit is, well, Reddit's not altogether terrible. Some people left some comments saying, "This is just really lazy and dumb on Microsoft's part. Either stick to linear stories or give us total freedom. This weird in-between BS just makes all the optional dialogue and choices feel like a complete waste of our time." Another comment, "Being forced into, quote, LOL here, get railroaded into a sexual encounter and have a baby, I literally recoiled." Someone else said, "That honestly kills any desire for me to play the rest of the DLC. I really have no desire to have a romance plot shoved down my throat in a game that up until now at least gave me the option. What a poor decision." Well, now you know how I feel, because I don't even want the choice presented to me.
Yeah, to me the problem here is, yeah, you shouldn't have given the choice in the first place. Because if the storyline is whether you have to have a child, you should have known you were going to tick people off.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one comment that said,
the train of thought is right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree to that. So you shouldn't have done it in the first place if you were going to do this. Let me read some more of these. Actually, this is further with Dumont's response to it. "We have read your responses online and taken them to heart. This has been a learning experience for us. Understanding how attached you feel to your Cassandra and your Alexios is humbling, and knowing we let you down is not something we take lightly. Also, when you do get to that point in the story where you have a child, you get a trophy or achievement called growing up," which some people, of course, took offense, because it's basically saying if you had homosexual encounters, then you weren't mature. But guess what? You can go back to doing that if you want to.
Yeah.
No one seems to care about that. And one more thing. During the official Polygon, which is where this article is where I found the website that I found this article on. Sorry, I'm very dyslexic this evening for some reason. Colin Campbell stated in his review, "Natakis, Darius' son, is a nice enough fella, but I don't appreciate the way he moons over me. There's something desperate, even vaguely douchey about his demeanor. Despite making every effort to reject him, Cassandra still ended up fetching groceries and cooing over her baby. It's a travesty."
What?
So, I'd actually, before I get into my thoughts, spitball. What do you
Wait, that person's complaining about the character liking their child?
No. The romantic. So he played as Cassandra.
The girl.
So, and he didn't like how the person you end up having a baby with was basically like very clingy, and what were his words again? He said, "There's something desperate, even vaguely douchey about his demeanor, despite making every effort to reject him," because you can do that. We actually have a screenshot up of, you can say whether you're into them or not, but apparently it happens anyway, no matter what, which is strange. I will agree, that's strange.
Yeah.
What did you have? What were your thoughts?
I just think, like, what do they want to happen? You know what I mean? Like, if that's a part of the plot that's unavoidable, having a baby, like, what do they want? Like, do you want that just to not be a part of the plot? Or would they have been happy if the whole sexual preference thing wasn't an option.
Right.
So that the plot would make more sense. Like, I don't really see them being pleased either way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because if you can't choose, then it's like an outrage. And if you can, then you have what just happened. I don't know. It's pretty goofy to me.
Well, and here's something a bit more practical. If you've played any of these games previously, it's pretty much assumed, since they are historical games that tie to a modern day timeline or modern day story, the characters you play as at some point are going to have children.
Yeah.
Because how you access these memories,
that's the whole point,
is the animus, which uses the DNA from your... It's just like, what did you think was going to happen? Just saying this to the players that are upset about this. Is like, have you never played an Assassin's Creed game before? Because even though you may not see your character have a child, you know that they do, because that's how this whole thing works, which kind of brings me into my whole point. The developers wanted a story where your character is very much involved in the lineage of assassins. There's only one way that's going to happen. They have to have a kid.
Yeah, they really shouldn't have done it then.
No, there's only one reason why they did it. It's the popular thing to do right now. And
because their games haven't been as popular lately.
But here's what I want to know, because I am assuming that the people that are making these complaints are either LGBT friendly or LGBT themselves.
Yeah, maybe they're white knights.
Isn't the B part of the acronym bisexual?
I think so. I lose track, but probably.
Which means that you can have either type of relationship. You can have a hetero or a homosexual relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I'm up on my biology, but when you do have that type of heterosexual relationship, a lot of times there's a good chance that you're going to have offspring.
Yep. I believe you're right on that one.
Or railroaded with a kid, as one person called it, which, by the way, I'm a parent. You're going to be upset by what I say. Well, I'm already upset by what you said, so there you go. Like, and then the one person's just like, I didn't like this to be forced down my throat. Well, literally, for people like me and you who believe that the homosexual lifestyle is immoral, well, now you know how I feel.
Right.
I've followed Assassin's Creed since its inception over 10 years ago. This is the first game where I'm just like, well, I'm not going to play because of the values that I have. You can agree with them, you can disagree with them. That's not up for discussion right now. What's up for discussion is whether this was a good decision on Ubisoft's part, and I guess we can all agree now. Something we can agree on is it was dumb for them to do this in the first place.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it's kind of, and it the other thing is it is strange because let's just say that they only had heterosexual relationships as an option anyway, because you can pretty much start a relationship with whomever because that was apparently a big thing with the Greek culture.
Yeah,
and it was.
Apparently, Alexander the Great was gay.
Or
I've heard a lot of people say stuff like that.
There's so many philosophers too that literally write about romancing.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just about adult men, by the way. I'll just leave it at that.
A little bit of Michael Jackson in Greek history, huh?
Well, except maybe the way he looked wouldn't really be out of place. With his sense of fashion.
So I mean, in that sense, it does make a little more sense, like it being in Greek culture.
And I guess I can appreciate that adherence to historical accuracy,
but it just doesn't make sense with the plot. Like, they wrote themselves into a corner with that one.
They really did. And you know that they don't come up with DLC after the game comes out.
Yeah.
Like this was planned for a long time to happen this way. So and I am kind of surprised that they didn't see the response that was going to come.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of out of touch, but yeah, you guys get to be as unsatisfied with the game as I am, because that's the decision they came to, and
No one's happy now. Are you happy Ubisoft?
No one's happy. Ubisoft's not happy. Gamers aren't happy. I'm not happy. So we can all be miserable together.